Hey, welcome to Prophecy Roundtable. You guys remember back in 1984 when the movie Terminator came out? And remember what happened there, right? So Arnold Schwarzenegger, he comes back, the world's been blown up, right? Of course, eventually they discover that in the future or past, however you look at it, they had created this thing called Skynet, right? Skynet was this sort of pre-internet idea of kind of an AI system, right? And the whole problem was that AI, when it went online, it became sentient and it realized that the problem in the world was the humans. Hey, what's crazy is we are getting close to Skynet. I think that we're actually building Skynet right now, right? I mean, there's all kinds of talk. AI came out 2 years ago. Now, look, there was AI before that, but we're talking about the large language models. Okay, so Chat GPT, that kind of stuff, right? This is pretty new it's just 2 years old relatively, and it's taking the world by storm, and it's moving fast, right? It's moving very, very fast. So Sam Altman, he is the CEO of OpenAI, and he's saying that we are just on the cusp of advanced super intelligence. All right. So advanced super intelligence means that it can do everything better than we can. All right. Now you couple that with the fact that they are making robots that can now do martial arts. They can break dance. They can do all kinds of construction jobs. If you're into certain parts of the world, they have them for intimate moments as well. All right. So that means that they have skin. They have, they feel like they're warm and alive. All right. And and guess what? There's also people that are now dating their AI girlfriend or boyfriend. All right. We are in a crazy world right now. What's really mind blowing is so many of the things in scripture are coming right before us. I mean, they're just popping. When I first wrote Corrupting the Image back in 2011, I thought I was on the cusp of, advanced stuff. I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, that was like so long ago, like the world has moved so fast. And I'll tell you, I really didn't see this type of AI. I mean, sort of in fiction, but now it's not fiction anymore. We are really getting to that place where things are moving fast. Now, I want to be very careful. I don't think that technology is bad. I think technology is awesome. I think it's very cool. But it always has the potential to be used in bad ways. And now what we're doing is we're creating autonomous bots. We're creating things that can think. Now, maybe they're not sentient. Maybe they're not, able to reason with themselves, but, just short of it. In fact, the other day, I was having a conversation with Microsoft's Copilot. That's kind of like ChatGPT. And I was talking with it, right? I was talking into it. I asked a question because somebody in my church asked me a question. And so I was doing a little research and, and of course I was on the road. So I talked with it. I didn't want to, text. That wouldn't be very good. So I was talking to it and it was talking back to me. I don't know what happened to my camera, but hey, whatever. And it was talking to me, and I was just like,
this is AI Doug, guys. Okay,
yeah,
this is not real Doug.
Really Doug.
He's playing with you.
What happened to me? It's crazy.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
There I am.
He got raptured and sent back.
I got raptured. Yeah.
Oh, you lost your background.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, so it was crazy though, because this thing was like having a conversation with me and it was like, oh yeah, isn't that wild? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, wow, thank you. That was strangely helpful. All right. I mean, it was really crazy because I was having this rather pleasant conversation with an AI. All right. Now, if you guys have been on my channel, my YouTube channel, you might have noticed that I've been putting out some podcasts. All right. And these are not human voices. These are two. Well, there's not two. It's one program. I'm using Google Notebook LM. All right. And I'm putting in my resources. So the books that I wrote, my articles and whatnot, and I'm putting those in there. And then it is creating a podcast that sounds like a man and a woman talking about my material. And I'm putting it out there because I think they did a really good job. And I think it's a great way, to get the 15-minute version of a lot of my work. Okay, so if you haven't read my books, if you just want a refresher, go ahead and check those out, because I think they are incredibly helpful, so you can get the snapshot. But I'll tell you, when I first started, I was blown away. I'm like, oh my goodness, it sounds so real. And if you really don't know what you're looking for, it's going to sound like just two people talking. So we really are in a brave new world. So I'm, on the one hand, I'm really excited about it. On the other hand, I'm kind of scared. Now, the next thing that's coming out in 2025 are AI agents. All right. So right now we have these chatbots, and they're super helpful. You can ask it all kinds of questions, and it will do a lot of amazing stuff for you. But if you wanted to say, hey, you talk to your chatbot and you say, hey, I want to, book a trip to Hawaii, go ahead and, set that up for me. Well, it'll then, kind of know your preferences. You've given it your credit card, so it can also make those arrangements for you. And it can book your hotel, it can book your flight, it can set up your whole itinerary, it can get the car rental for you. So you don't have to go and do those particular things. You just tell it, hey, set up a trip for me to, to go to Hawaii, whatever. Or let's say that, your spouse calls and says, hey, you know what? Somebody just spilled wine all over the floor and all over the carpet. We need a carpet cleaner. So you talk to your AI agent. Hey, I need to get this wine cleaned up. Can you go ahead and do that? Yeah. So it goes out. It will then find some carpet cleaners. It will compare prices. It might ask you, do you want to go with this one or that one? You say, let's go with this one. It's got, more stars on it and stuff. And so then it will go and it will call them. It will set it up, and it will have them come. And it can also pay for you. All right. So this is where we are. And that's just the beginning. There's so many things. Now imagine that you have an AI agent and then you give it a body. Wow. Okay. Now we're really getting to a point where it's getting kind of crazy. I'm starting to see Skynet come into full view. All right. And not only that, but let's say that you program it, say, well, you know what? I don't like that guy over there. I want you to take him out. Here's a gun. This is coming as well. All right. Look, I mean, of course it makes sense, right? I mean, if the US military could use robots in war instead of humans and save human lives, wouldn't we all be in favor of that? Well, of course we would. I'm all for saving human lives, but it gets a bit scary when you have now robots that are actually able to fight, right? They're fast. They don't get tired. They have incredible vision, right? Incredible auditory, abilities. There's almost no downside. Well, except unless you're at the end of the gun. So we are in a crazy, crazy place where this. Now I want to read something from my book, Corrupting the Image, Volume 3. All right, and again, when I wrote this just a couple years ago, this was just before ChatGPT came out. All right, and it's pretty wild. This is from I'm quoting Dr. Lewis Rosenberg.
Doug, you're chopping up. You're chopping your audio.
Has been more than 300 patents for his technological efforts in AR.
Yeah, you're going to have to start over again, Doug.
Artificial intelligence and computer interaction. What's that?
We've lost you. Your signal is choppy. So start over again.
Boy, so much for AI, right?
Start the quote again, okay?
I don't understand. There's something weird. All right. So an alien intelligence is heading toward us at breakneck speeds. It will not show up in a rocket ship, but we were born right here on Earth in a research lab. The first sense AI will be as different from us as alien we can imagine, and we have no reason to believe its interests will be even remotely aligned with our own. This intelligence will be flexible and cunning, able to infiltrate our computer networks and permeate our critical infrastructure. It will quickly become smarter than we are, and when that happens,
this is painful.
will struggle to understand.
Yeah, this is bad. This is really bad, Doug. Sorry. Sorry. Hal is winning this one.
You can't hear us.
Yeah. Can you hear us, Doug? I'm not on mute. Doug, You're frozen.
Yes, I hear.
Your face is frozen, and your audio is choppy. 2 times in a row.
Why don't
Sorry,
you back
Doug.
out and come back in, dude?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
Well, I can't because it's on my computer. It's on my computer, and anyway, I don't know. There's something
It was a
weird
good
with
quote.
the
If
software
anybody
that
could
we use.
hear
And
it.
speaking of weird software, maybe the future isn't there quite as fast as we think, right? But in any event, the point here, it's a little frustrating because I spoke with StreamYard and they don't seem to know and whatever. But in any event, so the point though is that Dr. Rosenberg is saying that an AI is going to, or a sentient being is going to be created in the laboratories right here on Earth, because we're going to create it. It's going to be smarter than us. It's going to know everything about us because we trained it on everything that we've ever written, right? So, maybe people don't understand, but a large language model, these LLMs that they've been training, are basically all of human intelligence, right? They've taken just, teraflops. I don't know. It's a lot of data. Okay. They've taken a lot of data, like pretty much all of it. And they've kind of been feeding it into these machines and these models so that they're learning, right? And that's what's so powerful about them, is that they're taking what we're giving it and they're learning things, so they're not just commanding it, these different robots and bots, how to do things, but they're training them. There's a big difference, right? And so with that ability to learn, like you start training it and then it starts to learn all by itself. They first taught it video games and all kinds of stuff. Now, the upside is that by using all of this AI, we're able to overcome a lot of handicaps. There are people that will be able to have, brain interfaces where they can talk directly to, or just think. They can think, into the computer. In fact, there was a guy that they wired up, and he was able to play a video game just by thinking about it. It's pretty crazy stuff, But that's great. Let's say, if you're handicapped and now you can just think about walking, think about using your hands. Hey, that's wonderful, right? That's awesome.
If you're blind, can you imagine being able to see if you're blind? I mean, who's going to block Neuralink?
Exactly.
Nobody.
This is wonderful. This is really wonderful stuff, and I'm all for it. But what scares me is that it either takes one wrong line of code in the computer, so to speak, okay, or it could take one madman who somehow is able to hijack it for his own evil intentions. And evil could be a gray scale for a little while until it becomes a bit more obvious. But this is where we are. All right. And, so I'm incredibly excited about the future, and I'm a bit hesitant as well, because I saw his Terminator, right? And you're like, guys, are we not building Skynet right now? I think we are. And so, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Well, the good news is Yeshua's from time past, present, and future. So in essence, Yeshua is coming back from the future, and he will save the day at the end before everything is ruined.
Yeah.
But it's going to get pretty bad before he arrives. Oh, my.
Well, again, it's like any other technology. Humans will use it for nefarious purposes. And in this situation, I believe it will be used for the one world system, the banking system, total surveillance system. And if they truly get Neuralink online, and I can see how that would 100% be potentially part of the mark of the beast, especially with some of the videos I've listed out of the wolf's own mouth. In other words, just listen to what Elon has said. I mean, that was spooky, scary. His little interview with Jordan Peterson, and Jordan's like, I wish you were joking. And, Elon sounds like Dr. Evil, like it's again,
where he says that we're summoning the demon, right? That
yes,
yeah.
and he's
that was 10 years ago too, by the way. 10 years ago.
Well,
right?
And recently the one with Jordan Peterson, he's talking about he's building his AI center in Memphis, where the new God will come from. He makes the link back to ancient Memphis. I mean, if anybody's ever been to Memphis, they've got a big old pyramid there. There's a Bass Pro Shops there now. But
Okay.
I mean, I've been in it buying stuff on my way to hunt up in Missouri. But yeah, I mean, I just don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe, that Memphis was chosen randomly by Mr. L on, and I don't believe his symbols and all his companies. You start looking at them and the cultic symbolism in the X, and then he's got he's even got, you invert it and you've got the 9. He's got one of his new symbols. He's got the 1 in front of the X, which is 9. And then you shine it in a mirror and you have 9/11. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, what's crazy? So Ray Kurzweil was asked, "Do you believe in God?" And he said, "Well, not yet." Talk about arrogant, right? He thinks that we're going to create God, and that we ourselves are going to become gods. So Sam Altman, again, he's the CEO of OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT. He was saying that we are on the cusp of the singularity. Now, what he's talking about is where technology, aka computers or artificial intelligence, becomes equal to or smarter than, a human. All right.
Mm.
And it is a big monumental moment. Okay. But what Ray Kurzweil was talking about when he talks about the singularity is this transhumanist idea. And I still think that 2045, I mean, I think that as far as what the Ray Kurzweil singularity is, I still think it's 2045. I don't think that's really changed. I think we have a lot of milestones to get there. But the transhumanist idea is that we humans are going to merge to such an extent with the machines that we will become humanity 2.0. Right now, again, I think what's happening with AI, it's incredible. And I think that if there's a AI singularity, yeah, I think that's probably, just a few years away. I really do. But I don't think that we're to the point where humanity itself, where you can take a human body and you can transform it in such a way that it really becomes transhuman. It becomes, this altogether godlike being. But do I think we're going to get there? I do. I actually think we are going to get there. But I think on the way, this is where I think that, all of these things are converging. All right. I was in a end times documentary some years ago called Coming Convergence. And the whole idea is, all these things are coming together. And I think we're getting closer and closer. I don't think we're to the bullseye yet. Right. I do think that probably 2045. Now, I could be wrong. I mean, if you guys are wrong, if you guys are right and it's 2030 something, that's cool. But I'm going to stick with 2045. All right. So we're getting closer there. And what we see coming, of course, we have this transhumanist element. And then we have kind of the UFOs and the spiritual stuff. What I would predict is that as humanity is trying to become better, we're trying to change our very genetic structure.
Better?
Well, more knowledge.
Yes. I mean, from a
as Dr. Evil tries to
of
make
course,
humanity
obviously.
I don't think we can words.
Dude, I don't think we can improve on God's stuff, okay? But let's assume that you are a transhumanist or you're an evolutionist or you just don't believe in God or whatever. You're like, look, we've evolved this far. Why don't we evolve to the next level? And so what people are going to be trying to do is, to better themselves. They want to become immortal or whatever. And this is what people are actively working on. And if they could find a way, if they could have a shortcut to get stronger, more resilient, godlike DNA, they could actually get that. I think people would go for it. And this is where I think Satan and his crew comes in. They're masquerading as aliens here to save the day. And, they say, hey, you can become one of us and we'll become one of you because we're sort of this quasi, semi
God
materialistic. Well, we're semi-materialistic beings, right? So they exist they're interdimensionals. They don't really fully exist in this dimension, but they're looking for a way to bridge this as well, right? And so this is where all this research, at least what I've done, Dr. John Mack and David, gosh, I forget his last name, but two prominent psychologists that David Jacobs, there we go. They did all these hypnotic regressions with people that claimed to have been abducted by aliens. And David Jacobs was really excited about all this stuff. He was excited about the aliens coming and the brave new world. And after doing enough of these things, he got really nervous because he's like, oh, in this new world, we're going to be the second-class citizens. We're going to be the slaves to these overlords who are they're semi-dimensional. They don't really fully exist in this dimension, but they need some kind of an avatar so they can come into this world. This is where I think all this stuff is coming together. And so I think that Satan is basically going to give his DNA, his seed, to humanity, to a human, the beast, who will then take it and then will use that to transform himself. Now, what I suggest in Corrupting the Image 3 is that the image of the beast might very well be a hive mind experience. All right, a hive mind. I think that's what we could be going toward. Again, I can always be wrong, and I'm totally cool if I'm wrong.
Revelation says they shall all be of one mind. I mean,
right.
You're not just making this up. It's like the Star Trek Borg.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and there's already a ton of research. They're doing this in laboratories already. They're creating these things. Now, let's think about what would be the so-called benefits. Okay, well, look, if we could, let's be honest. When we all come together, I mean, there's tons of companies that are making people go back to the office. Why? Because we work better together and we get things done. And we have better collaboration, right? And we have all these so-called tools, right? We have, Microsoft Teams and all this different stuff, Slack and lots of different online tools so that we can all collaborate and combine ideas. And, we're able to do documents together. What if we had a way so that we could really do the mind melt, right? We could do the Mr. Spock kind of thing where we do the Vulcan mind melt, and we could share information with each other at the speed of thought, right? I mean, wouldn't that be amazing? And
No,
dude, just go with me for a second.
No.
Scott. You're such a pain, dude.
I want to be on record when you say things like that as saying no.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm trying to give the scenario of what they think, not what I think.
Okay.
Jeez. But anyway, so the whole idea here, I have an idea. There, now I can't even see Scott. That solves the problem. All right. But the whole idea here is that, again, looking at it from their perspective, not from God's perspective, but just from a technological human evolution, let's become all that we can be. These kinds of things sort of make sense. Okay, air quotes. Okay, I'm not saying that. So air quotes. All right. But what if there's a way that they could do it faster? If they could sort of, do a shortcut. And if Satan, disguised as an alien, comes and says, here, I've got some amazing code for you. Here's some technology. I mean, this is what happened back in the days of Noah. You had the sons of God. They came down according to the book of Enoch. They shared technology with them, which, I tend to think that that's probably accurate as far as I can tell. But we are in just a crazy, crazy world at this point. So, man, it's moving so fast. It's blowing my mind.
Scott? Go ahead, Joe.
Nothing. Okay. All right. Fine.
I think my little bitty brain here is pretty simple. This crap is scary, and I'm not hooking myself up to it, and I'm not looking forward to it because I believe it's going to accelerate much, much quicker than my friend Doug. So go ahead, Joel.
If you don't participate in this economy, you'll be left behind. Not the rapture phrase, but you'll be left behind. Your children will be too. If they don't educate through the beast system, they won't be able to get a job because they won't have access to the technology to do their job properly. They won't be useful to society. So you're going to have to plug in, just like the personal devices right now. Your kids are going to have a smartphone, but connected to their brain. And they're going to have access to the library at all times, and they're going to have to do these things to participate, and they'll probably have to take the mark of the beast to have a job and to earn some kind of income or be able to buy food, anything like that. So we know it's all coming. So I guess the point is, when do we eject from this society, this beast system? We not yet. Obviously, we're not there yet, but we'll get there maybe within 5-10 years. That means we're going to have to go elsewhere, get off the grid, get off everything, and somehow survive. We're going to have to learn how to plant crops and live off the land and survive somehow for X amount of time. And we don't even know what time frame that'll be right now.
Well, I believe when it goes live is when it goes live. When you can no longer buy and sell is during that final time period. Up until then, I think you will be able to exist. I mean, like, I can still exist and insist on cash, but of course I take credit cards right now. You know, of course I've taken checks ever since I opened up my law practice. You know, nowadays most people like to pay with a credit card, and I just eat the 3% as a cost of doing business. Would I rather have a check and deposit in my bank account and pay zero? Sure. Now, ultimately, when you know, if and when you must take a chip inside your body, that's when I'm drawing the line. You know, so long as I can do it with something not connected to my body and not connected up to Starlink or Neuralink, then that's where I'm drawing the line. Even if there's no image of a beast that I have to worship, I know that's the next logical step. And then I certainly don't want any type of computer hooked to my mind and hooked to my body, in which there could have any more control than they already have, as they're programming us or trying to program us daily. You know, I like to watch the news now. I told a friend of this other day. I said, "What news source?" I said, "Just watch the crap, to see what they're programming you to do, and you can at least know, hey, the president was in this place, or there's fires going on in LA right now. You know, you can at least know that there's a major fire in Los Angeles right now by watching any of the mainstream news. Just realize that you're getting programmed. We've been programmed since we were kids."
Very
okay,
true.
so let's pretend that this beast system is coming along, and they're not going to walk up to us and say, "Hey, by the way, this is the beast system, and if you take this mark, you're going to hell, and you're going to burn in hell as a result of that." They're going to come at us gradually. They're going to come at us with, "Well, this will help you. You'll be able to see better. You'll be able to think better. You'll be healthier. We'll monitor your heart, and your body and your other things that are going on. Oh, you have a cold? Here, take this. We'll inject something inside you, and it'll make you feel better because we'll be able to monitor you." Okay? So it's going to be very gradual. There's no way they're going to just walk up to us and say, "It's the beast. Here it is. Take the mark. You're going to hell." It doesn't happen, guys. So it might take 3-4 years of this where we gradually lose freedoms, and we're already losing our freedoms anyway.
What do you think the mark of the beast is, Joel?
My feeling, Scott already named the guy. So El Elyon is his nickname. That's the familial nickname for the guy. You know who I'm talking about. And that he is creating it right now. There are people from his family that said he will not be the Antichrist. He will be the one that presents the mark of the beast. And so he's building it through Neuralink right now.
Okay.
It's in alpha testing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I very much think that it's a dramatic change of our DNA. Like it's a fundamental change of our DNA. I think it's
with CRISPR, they can do that, Doug.
I know.
It's just, it could be a combination of the two. In other words, getting hooked up to the system, and also this CRISPR fundamental change in your DNA. I mean, again, I'm no scientist. Next time I really understand DNA, it'll be the first time. But from my understanding, even the little jabby jabs are having effects on people's, DNA. It has actually started. Not saying you're a different human being right now, or that your genetic code has changed, but some of those. That's why
I think the mark has to be actually a mingling of Satan's DNA. Per Genesis 3:15, he will cause enmity between your seed and the woman's seed. Joel, you had a slide you're going to show.
Yeah, let's pop it up. Let's add to the stage.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, what I'm going through in my process, and this is very similar to what Doug has done with his corrupting the image, they have to normalize these extra dimensional beings, or we'll call them ETs, extraterrestrial, but they'll inject into our human cultures a little bit more each month, each year. AI is one of the tools, but they have other tools too. Be very, very careful, people, based on going to a coffee shop, you're miserable, you have a cold, somebody walks up to you and says, hey, I'd love to lay hands on you and pass this Kundalini spirit onto you. And that's what people are doing right now. They call them prayer rooms, but there are many different ways. AI is one of the tools to get you corrupted, whether it's DNA right away or later on, it doesn't matter. There is a corruption going on there, and also a spiritual corruption through these other people, prayer rooms, or sozo, okay? The Greek word that means healing. Well, they're using it for other nefarious goals. Okay, then they'll gradually tease us and unveil these aspects of the extra dimensional beings that we're starting to see it already. We tried to book a guest on a couple of times for this to show that Las Vegas was real. These are 8 to 10 foot beings that are just coming in and being viewed for a period of time, then leaving. So they're going to tease us more and more and more and normalize it more and more and more. Then I believe we get to this midpoint. Whether Scott agrees with timing or not, it doesn't matter, but you'll get to a point where the EDs are unveiled completely, and we know they're there and they're looking strange, and they're basically right out of a horror novel called Doug Hamp's, Corrupting the Image. Okay, they will be a corruption of. They'll be Nephilim. Okay, they will be frightening Nephilim at that point in time. Corruption. Okay, then at that point they'll be pushing hard for global peace and a seed swap. And so I'm citing, an ED New World Order, which is on the right-hand side from Daniel 2:43 through 44. And I'm in King James, guys, because for some reason they really got it right here. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, and they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, and that is Zerah, Elohim, or Adamah, probably, Doug, or what do you think? I don't know.
Well,
Doesn't
this is
matter.
in Aramaic, this passage, so.
Oh, it is. You're right. It's two. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They shall not cleave one to another.
Yeah.
And even as iron is not mixed with clay, and in the days of these kings, look for that word, kings, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So that's Daniel 2:43 for 44. Doug, are you gone for a while or what?
I'm still here. My
Okay.
camera's acting funky.
We lost you again. So I'll explain the picture down below. It's a little tiny picture, but bottom line is the head of gold is Babylon. The silver section of the midsection is going to be Medo-Persia. Then down below, you see Greece as the legs, and then down below that is the iron, which is Rome. But there is this weird thing about Rome that just continues on. We still have a Holy Roman Empire sitting in Rome today, and they're very powerful. But there is also this other kingdom of the extra dimensionals. And it seems like what they're going to push for is mixing of seed based on Daniel. And Doug's already written on this for 10, 11, 12 years. And I've been sensing this for years too. I mean, that verse just spoke to me years ago. That's what they want to push for. They really want to make us so that we can't be saved. We will be less than human. Whatever Genesis 1:26 through 27 is in terms of God set us up to be an image of him, an icon, Zelem of God, that will be broken at some point in time. And then it'll be Doug Hamp's time to discuss his novel.
Yeah, I mean, that passage is really powerful because it's mitarvin is in the Aramaic there, which means that they will mingle themselves, right? And, if it were just humans mingling with humans, okay, that happens every day. I mean, it's awesome what God did, but it's not exactly out of the ordinary. Okay, people having babies happens. Okay, yeah. So I don't think that's exactly prophecy worthy. That God gives a dream to Nebuchadnezzar and like, oh my goodness, people are going to have babies in the future. Like, it can't be talking about that. It's talking about two different classes or two different species of beings
Yes,
here. That's
exactly.
what's critically important. And so the days of those kings, so that tells us that these kings are going to mingle themselves with the seed of men, meaning that they are not of the seed of men. They're of some different seed. And I'll tell you, this really perplexed me when I started looking into it in Corrupting the Image, Volume 1. I'm like, how in the world could Satan have seed? But once I understood that seed is just, or DNA we're talking about, and it's just information, I was like, oh my goodness, it's information, right? And we send information packets, across the air all the time. We send it in wires, and it's not material, but it certainly exists. And we use it every single day, billions and trillions of times every day, maybe more than that. So it's information. All right. And so they're going to mingle their information, their seed, with the seed of men. And they're not going to adhere one to another, at least not very well, right? They're going to sort of stick to each other, but it's not going to be a long-lasting, permanent relationship. And, it's kind of like how a mule and a horse can make a donkey. I mean, a donkey and a horse can make a mule, right? It sort of works, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And so I think that's kind of what we're talking about, is that they are going to try to mingle themselves. And this is where we get into Revelation chapter 9, where it says that men will seek death in those days and it will escape them, right? That again blew me away. I'm like, how in the world can you not die if you really, really want to die? And this is where I think because people will become immortal, not in the way that they think they're going to become immortal, but they will have some type of immortality, and it will not be quite as pleasant as the brochure made them think it was going to be. The infomercial, but wait, there's more, and they thought it was going to be the deal of a century, and turns out they don't want it anymore. And it's because they're going to have mingled themselves with the seed of death, the seed of Satan. And I think this is why in Revelation 16, they start having putrefying sores come upon them, because basically they have, their body is falling apart. It's actually now decaying probably faster than ever, but now it's immortal to some degree. Like, they're not going to die in the average sense, but they're kind of wasting away from the inside. And not a very pleasant experience. But look, I just want to make it clear that I'm really excited about the technology, but I think it can be taken in a very dangerous place. So I'm not against technology. I'm not against AI. I plan on fully using it. And I don't think that just by using AI or hanging out in a coffee shop, as you're saying, Joe, I don't think anybody can put some kind of hex on you or put the mark of the beast on you. But I think it's something that people will have to consciously decide they want to take, because they want to fight against Jesus. Ultimately, I think that's where it's going to go. I mean, it was crazy. I was reading Revelation some time ago, and I was like, oh my goodness, there it is. It actually says they're going to make war against the beast. Like, that is the stated goal of what they're trying to do. And then I'm like, oh yeah, what they're trying to do is get ready to fight the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. That is the strong delusion. This delusion that you could actually fight the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Why would you think that you would have any chance? I would suggest it's because they're going to lower God. And he's not the king, the almighty king, the all-powerful, but they're going to think that he is a powerful, advanced, evolved being who sort of became a god. And that, if we evolve enough, that we could become gods as well. And if we're all working together, if we are of one mind, maybe we have this hive mind thing going on, and we have super bodies, and we have super intelligent AIs helping us out, and all these things coming together, then we stand a pretty good chance from humanity's perspective at actually beating this really mean overlord called God.
It's the Avengers Endgame, dude. I mean, it's they're telling us what they're going to do. These other entities, these gods from other worlds, and technology, and Tony Stark. I mean, that is Armageddon. This mean, evil creator God who's upset about everything because people aren't really good, and they're and then Spider-Man who gets bit by a spider. It's all these genetic enhancements and technology coming together to fight God.
Yep.
And it's the script's already been written in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Superman, Captain America is a genetically altered human being. I mean, Tony Stark, it might as well be Elon Stark or
yeah,
Tony Musk. I mean, the script is right there. I believe they've been programming us for what's coming. And you got to fight against, and obviously we know because we've read the book that the world is not ending. Yeshua is coming back to restore the world, but he's going to end up destroying the beast system. He's going to end up destroying what we have built because we've done a pretty bad job of it. And the more, like you said, as technology grows, we just increase our ability to kill each other faster. We change foods. We implement, we've got this product that can kill weeds and it causes cancer. So you've got all these all these things are really not good. I love my air conditioning. Don't get me wrong. I'm not asking to go back to the 900s and live in Alabama and burn up. I mean, this time of year down here is not that bad, even though it's a little chilly tonight. But life was tougher back then. But with this technology comes dangers, and I think we are living at the end of the age, whether it's in the next however many years or if Doug is correct. And part of me hopes he is. Part of me hopes he's not, because it just we should be looking forward to the return of Yeshua, but getting to that end game, getting to the end of this age is not necessarily going to be a walk in the park. It's much easier to be a pre-trib rapture believer and just go, hey, before it gets really bad, we're just going to get out of here at least 7+ years before the end. And you guys deal with it. We'll leave you some Bibles and some notes for the tribulation saints.
Oh boy. I would love to go back to that. I mean, I wish it were true, but
no,
it's just
there's no going back. You don't get to click your heels.
I know.
Well,
so we're going forward.
That man-child option. So.
Well, if you're the man-child, then that's good for you.
I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, it seems like Satan can't beat God in a head-to-head battle based on, say, Isaiah 14:12, moving forward in that chapter. But it seems like he can beat him by corrupting the image of mankind, by going in and reprogramming mankind and corrupting his genetic code, or corrupting his mind, or his spirit, guys. That's part of it too. Even though Doug doesn't believe in coffee shops and people laying hands on you, there is this spiritual corruption that can occur where it just kind of twists your mind up. So the bottom line is, there are many different ways to get into man and corrupt them. I'm not sure it's just 1 or 2 or 3 different ways. There might be other ways to get in and corrupt, but it does reflect that in Revelation, that there will be a corruption of mankind and there will be a loss of salvation. So death, everybody dies. Get used to that. But salvation, to lose that, and for a major portion of our population to lose their salvation, is horrible. It's frightful. I mean, what do you do with your family if they take the mark of the beast and you're sitting out in your little cabin wondering what happened to them, and they show up and there's the mark and you see it in their hand or in their forehead? How do you have a conversation about God with them when it's done? They're written out. They're not in the book of life. What do you do then?
I guess I play on John MacArthur's sermon.
Yeah, really.
Well, explain what the sermon is.
John MacArthur was asked a question one time, because he is a pre-trib rapture believer, and about people that took the mark. And I think John stepped in it, and it wasn't a sermon. It was a question and answer program. And he said, yes, God's grace, You know, even though that's going to, even though he's got some whacked out theology, that yeah, you could take the mark and still be saved. And you know, and again, I have said before that there is a conjunction there. The Chi word is there. It does say take the mark of the beast and worship his image. But I always stress don't take the mark of the beast, irrespective of whether you believe you can take it without bowing down to an image, because you know, don't risk your don't risk lake of fire status on that little caveat. But it does have the Chi in the text.
Well, so there's three things that are required, right? You have to take the mark, you have to worship his image and worship his name. That is when you actually are transformed. And, you know, this is what I find really interesting about our cells, is that in order for our cells to change, they have to let things in. And if you feel like you're under threat, if you're being chased by a lion or whatever, your cells actually close up. Like, so the little doors in your cells that let in nutrients and whatnot, those close up, right? Because you got to hightail it out of there. So if you're being forced, if someone's trying to force this thing on you and you're like, I don't want this thing, so now there's fear, then your cells are going to close and not let them in, right? So that's why the whole worshiping of it, it means that I want this. I agree with it. I'm endorsing this. I think this is a great idea.
I would like to become a god. Idea. Yeah, I too want to become a god. In other words, exactly. I want to live forever. Right. I think it's the oldest lie in the book, Doug, that what we're talking about. Okay. You can be as God. You can be, I mean, and they were already immortal.
Yes.
But now I think the goal here from listening to Musk and these other people is they are saying, you know, this is like this AI eventually, and us merging with it will be like humanity becoming God, one with the machine, the ghost in the machine. Again, guys, I only like to really watch movies these days that have a predictive programming, because that's the only, you know, I can't even watch anything unless I'm sort of watching and go, what are they trying to do to us here? What, you know, what are they, you know, how are they trying to steer this part of the population or this part of, you know, how are they hurting the sheep to be more compliant? So,
yeah. And let's be clear that, you know, we're not making this up about transhumanists saying they want to become God. They're on record, big time.
Yeah.
They're on record saying that they want to become gods. And if somebody interferes with them becoming gods, there's going to be problems. All right. So they're pretty adamant and upfront about what they want to do. So there's a guy named Richard Seed, I think his last name was, ironically. You know, he's saying that we're going to become gods, period. If you interfere with me becoming a god, there'll be warfare. Right? There's other guys on the same record that we're going to become God. Ray Kurzweil, you know, he works for Google now. He is a visionary. He's a genius. And, you know, I kind of believe him when he talks because he has such an amazing track record. Now, I disagree that God doesn't exist. You know, I think God does exist. But from his perspective, God doesn't exist yet because we are going to become the gods, is what he says. And again, I think he's going to be fairly successful, with the caveat that, you know, he's on the wrong track, but he and his fellow researchers are going to achieve their milestone, just not quite the way they think. Right. And, you know, so, you know, it's all coming, right? They really are trying to become gods. But what I would also suggest, though, is we can't leave out this whole alien idea, right? So the Bible talks about the two witnesses coming on the scenes. And I know that, Scott, you and I disagree a little bit on exactly how that looks like. From my perspective, the two witnesses are probably Moses and Elijah. They're going to come, you know, and their message is, hey, repent because the king is coming. The world's like, no, thank you. Appreciate it. But get out of here. And when they don't leave and then they start causing all kinds of havoc on planet Earth, then humanity says, okay, how do we get rid of these guys? And they'll send in the special teams, the special forces, you know, they'll send in the SEALs to try to kill these guys, and then the tanks and the airplanes and the drones. Nothing's going to work because these guys have amazing superpowers and nobody can kill them. And this is when they make a deal with the devil. But again, he's not the devil. He's a really amazing, glorious alien who's here to save the day. And he says, oh, I can help you. I can help you. All you got to do is just make this little deal with death and Sheol. That's Isaiah 28. Woe to you, scornful men who rule this people in Jerusalem, who say we've made a covenant with death, and with Sheol we are in agreement. It's right there, right? So they think that they're going to make an amazing deal. They don't quite know who they're making the deal with, but it looks pretty good at first glance. And then Satan delivers, right? He then forms the beast, who then has his power, his throne, his authority, and he's able to overcome the two witnesses, and he's able to kill them. And so now everyone's rejoicing because, like, wow, these guys that were causing all this trouble on the planet have now been put away. And so now everybody really wants to, kind of take the mark and everything. But then guess what? They rise again. They come back to life 3.5 days later, and now there's massive fear. Now, we already know that they've been telling everybody, hey, our king is coming. He's coming to claim his planet. And when these guys resurrect and go back home, I think the world, well, according to scripture, the world is panicking. There's utter terror, chaos. People are panicking. And so now there's this incredible urgency to saddle up, to get, to start packing. The trouble is you can't just get a gun and think that you're going to fight God. You have to have, well, again, they don't think he is the almighty God, but think he's a powerful being. And so the only way that you can fight fire is with fire, right? So you have to yourself become a god. You have to level up, right? You've got to be, transform your body from just this lowly mortal body to now becoming this godlike being. And then we all rally together so that we can all fight Jesus when he comes back.
Captain America didn't age. He became essentially an immortal super being.
Mm-hmm. God told Moses
that's the way it's going to happen, but again, it's plausible that there could be some genetic manipulation in which maybe the adversary is allowed to have the ability to alter DNA on the death gene or something. Maybe that's the covenant with death is to actually somehow trick people into thinking they can trick death. Because again, that's what makes us mortal. Mm-hmm. Is that's our sentence for that's been passed down ever since Adam and Eve transgressed the single command that they had. So let's see here.
Mm-hmm. There have been some good questions. Pull them up, please.
One thing we know is the buy and sell aspect of the mark of the beast. Isn't Elon being given a financial position by the citrus man? Yes, he is. Department of Governmental Efficiency, supposedly him and Ramaswamy, who's a Hindu, and just so happens Vance is a Catholic now, married to a Hindu. I just believe people are being that the system, the coming global system, especially with them already all but saying, hey, we're bringing Canada and Greenland in and we're taking back Panama. Guys, look up the Club of Rome. Look up the 10 regions. There's no better way to get probably the part of the population that would be most resistant to this, get them into almost practically worshiping an individual who's going to make America great again, to actually usher in what we know is all coming, in which many of them will be on board until it's too late. So that's what I believe is going to happen over the next few months, few years, and add in maybe some terrorist attacks, and we get Patriot Act 2.0, we get digital IDs. That's how that's my speculation mode on how things could unfold this year. So, y'all's thoughts? And I'm gonna sign out fairly early, right on time tonight, because I want to go home and watch the football game.
Okay then.
Auburn's on?
No, Notre Dame and Penn State. It's college football playoffs.
Okay.
That's my Roman vice. I love to watch the gladiators play football.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Any other thoughts? We have Someone saying that I think Elon is a bit underwhelming to be the son of perdition. Maybe, but I mean, so in my book Regenesis Code, I sort of model the Antichrist figure a bit after Elon Musk. I mean, he strikes me as someone that could be like that. And okay, yeah, he's not Mr. Universe, but if someone like that, I'm not saying that he's the dude, but if someone like that were to take on Satan's seed and be transformed, aka, like Captain America, who went from being this, scrawny 90-pound weakling to being Captain America, right? It could be that we haven't seen anything yet, right? And so, we're just kind of exploring this juncture between, AI, it's moving fast, the spiritual aspect of it, how this could all come together. None of us knows ultimately, but we're just seeing a lot of smoke signals in the distance, like something's coming, something's coming, and it seems like it's really hastening. It's just accelerating in all that's happening. And I do think that AI is going to play a huge role in that. And maybe AI will kind of tell us how to do it. Maybe it'll tell us how to actually merge ourselves to become one and become gods or something like that. I mean, I don't know, but
I want
to go back to that one.
Well,
let me answer it real quick.
Okay. Go ahead and answer it. I just put this
up
because Elon changed his avatar to Grok the frog.
Oh, okay. That's what it is.
Because it relates. Go ahead. Answer. Okay.
So for me, it seems as though you guys are thinking that we're saying that Elon is pin the tail on the Antichrist. No, we're not saying that at all. In fact, we're not sure who the Antichrist is, and we're not looking to pin any tails on for that position. We're saying that creating the mark of the beast is just technology, okay? And I argue that Elon has access through a portal to other beings, other spiritual beings. Now, that's what his family says, okay? And so he's always had this ability to just conduct business with the other side. And we all know about the portals. Doug talks about the portals in Babylon and other places. And there seems to be a portal opening up in Revelation chapter 9, verses, say, 16 on the sixth trumpet, okay? And so these portals seem to open up. There seems to be portals in South America, portals in America. There's, the snake area of Ohio, things like that. There are these weird portals across the world and weird structures that are aligned with the stars perfectly and aligned with other beings or other buildings across the world. There seems to be portals. The other thing is, guys, if you really dig through Revelation 9, both the fifth trumpet and the sixth trumpet, you will see these portals open up and God allows a prison release so that these beings can be let free. And they'll interact with us, okay? And then if you move along into Revelation 12, you'll see that the Satan, and he's called many different things, dragon and Ophis and whatever else in the Greek. Bottom line is, he's released and other beings are released with him. And there seems to be another area of heaven, not where God is, but it's something like heaven, an upper area that they're imprisoned in right now. And so we know there's the abyss that holds some of these things. I argue it's a Babylon holding tank over in that area for later on in chapter 9. And then the third one would be Revelation 12, which seems to be a heavenly jail, we'll call it, for lack of a better word. And then they're released and they interact with us. So I'm saying it's going to be gradual. You'll see little interactions this month and maybe a little bit more next month and things like that. But then eventually it's going to be commonplace where you just say, well, that's Satan. He just was released. Or that's the crazy, whatever, scorpion-like beetle bugs that pop out of Revelation chapter 9, the fifth trumpet. They just pop up from the abyss and they're gross and strange. And, you've seen the descriptions. It's bizarre. Bottom line is Doug's found them in Babylon with all of these old, what do you call them, Doug? I can't remember what you call them.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different names, but there's something on a Kuduru stone, which is the god Nergal, who is the god of the underworld. And, he's the one that we see perfectly demonstrated in the book of Revelation chapter 9. That's what's so wild about it. But the idea of portals, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I mean, the president of D-Wave Quantum Computers was talking about how with quantum computing that, basically we're trying to reach into another dimension and take advantage of the resources found therein. And, you hear this is Gordy Rose. He was the previous president of D-Wave Computers. And, like, oh, that just sounds crazy. But, when you start putting these pieces together, there's something called the Einstein-Rosen bridge, okay, also known as a wormhole. All right. And science, there's a lot of great research happening with physicists because they've been trying to bridge quantum physics with Einstein's relativity. All right. And this is something that's been very difficult because, quantum physics deals with the super small and relativity deals with the super large. All right. And they, up until recently, they have not been able to put these two together. And they feel like they might have found a correlation with the wormhole, that we might be talking about one and the same thing, just using different language. One's looking at the big, one's looking at the small, but we're talking about the same thing. All right. And of course, nobody knows exactly what is at the other end of a black hole, but it's been speculated that it could be, maybe a different dimension or something. And this is where people are going with this. I don't just mean people. I mean, some of the top researchers in the world, they really believe that we might be able to, get to other dimensions. And so then we start looking at the Bible and, it talks about the book talks about Babel, right? Babel literally means Bab El, it means the gate of the gods.
Right.
And look, these guys were not trying to build something up to the sky and to touch the dome. They weren't trying to do that, right? They're on record that they weren't trying to touch the dome, that they were trying to create some kind of a portal, a gate.
Sure.
That's literally what it means. Portal and gate. That's the word Bab in ancient Akkadian. The Bab El, the gate of the gods, which became Bab Ilani, which became Babylon, became the gate of the gods. All right. And they were trying to build some kind of a portal. And you have to ask yourself, why did God come down and confuse the languages when they were just trying to build a tall building? Was God against skyscrapers? Was God like, oh, I don't know, I don't think I like tall buildings? No, God's totally chill with tall buildings. In fact, if you want to see a really tall building, check out the New Jerusalem. That's a really, 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 really tall structure, okay? So he's totally fine with tall structures. I mean, he made the mountains. He made the earth. He made the moon. These are all big. He's not against big. He's against creating stargates that can facilitate the communication, the easy communication between the other side and this side. Why? Because it's incredibly dangerous. And when Jesus was on the earth, where did he take his disciples? He went to Caesarea Philippi, which is called the gates of Hades. And basically he said, not today. This isn't going to happen. The gates of Hades will not prevail. And it's not that, that the gates, the guys in the gates of Hades, they're like, okay, close the gates because Jesus is coming. No. The first century Jewish apocalyptists believed that the gates of Hades were going to fling wide open. And any moment you'd have hordes of underworld beings come out shooting their arrows and taking over the earth. Well, that's exactly what it says in Revelation chapter 9, that hordes of these underworld beings are going to come out shooting their arrows. And so Jesus put the kibosh on it back in his day. He's like, not today, but later. Okay. Not today, but in about maybe 2 days' time. A day is 1,000 years. So roughly 2,000 years later, I say roughly, then you can come in and do your havoc. Okay. And if Scott's right, then we're right on the cusp of this thing. I'm still shooting for 2045, but whatever. So
So, Doug, why is God allowing these prison releases? Why the Abuso will be opened, that portal we'll call it, or whatever wormhole, he'll allow that to be opened. I think there's a Babylonian section that's going to be opened, a portal that's later on in chapter 9, the sixth trumpet. And then in chapter 12, we have another portal, but it's a heavenly portal being opened. Why do we need this final confrontation?
Well, look, this is so what happens is when Jesus starts to open those seals, what he's doing is he's reclaiming his planet. And the current king, Satan, doesn't want to give it up without a fight. All right. And so he's going to do everything he can. Now, I think God allows the portal to be opened, but I think from Satan's perspective, he finds a way to open the portal. Okay. So, either way, the portal opens. God's like,
Right.
okay, let them have their fun, but Satan's like, guess what? I just found a way to open the portal. Right.
Okay.
And I think that he's going to use some human ingenuity mixed with some spirituality to open this thing up. And basically he's trying to get the biggest army he can possibly have, right? When you're fighting against the King of Kings, you need every last soldier available to you. All right. And so I think he's like, okay, I'm going to have my my people that take the mark of the beast. They're going to be super duper powerful. They're going to be of one mind, kind of a hive mind thing. All right. So with that, I can fight against the king. And then I'm going to have my special forces from the underworld. So I need to make sure to get them out. And then of course I have, just my regular, fallen angel infantry, the 1/3, whatever they are. And so I think he's trying to get a really sizable army because, it's pretty hard to fight against the King of Kings, but at least if you have enough soldiers, maybe, just maybe, he could pull this thing off. And look, I don't think Satan is so much trying to fight against Jesus directly, but I think that he's trying to fight against the promises that he made. If he can prove and show Jesus or God a liar, then he basically has a stalemate. And I think that's all he needs. All he needs to do is just keep control of the earth that he already controls, And so this is where I think he's trying to dupe humanity once again into making a deal with the devil, just like Adam and Eve, essentially, they made a deal with the devil, a little unbeknownst to them, but that's kind of what they did, and they gave him the keys to planet Earth and said, here you go. And I think that's what he's trying to have humanity do again, is give the keys over through deception, but through also our own greed and whatnot.
But we're going to be here, Doug. What are we supposed to do during this cosmic battle? Heiser calls it the cosmic showdown. What are we supposed to do during that time?
Well, I think for believers, a lot of us are going to die. I mean,
okay, that was happy. We're done now. Okay.
I wish I had better news for you, man.
Man. I was kind of hoping for something better than that. Well, I'll serve up another pitch here.
Trust me, I'd love to go back to the rapture, dude, but
I just
don't see that happening. I just don't see it happening.
Okay.
So, God will give us the grace that we need at that time. He'll give us the courage to go through tough times, and if we die, we die. Okay, I mean, that's not the worst thing that could happen. All right.
So the Greek word for witness is martyr. So you're saying basically it works.
Yes.
Martyrios. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, martyr doesn't necessarily mean you have to die, but it means a lot of the...
It's part of the word, yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of the early witnesses died, right? And, so, but he's also going to keep a certain amount of believers.
A remnant.
For the work that he has. And I really do believe that the two witnesses are going to spur a huge revival. I think that we are finally going to see true power. We're going to see, not the likes of the fake televangelist Benny Hinn, charlatans that are just sucking money out of people, and they're doing
as I'm waving my coat at people and they're falling over.
I know. I tell you, it's so funny when somebody like redid him with a lightsaber. Oh my gosh, that was funny.
That's great.
Oh, that was so funny.
No, I loved it.
But he's it's a total charlatan thing, because he doesn't really heal people. But I think the two witnesses are going to come and they're going to really heal people. And I think our faith, our collective faith, is
call
going to
down
be
fire.
strengthened.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be revitalized. We're gonna say, oh my gosh, I mean, this is something that I've prayed about and I've kind of pleaded with God. I'm like, Lord, I want to do what you have for me, but I don't have any model. I don't have anybody showing me. How do I move mountains? How do I heal the sick? I mean, I pray and nothing happens. I pray and they die. So I need someone to be my mentor to show me, like, dude, here's what you're doing wrong. I'm like, oh, and I think that's where the two witnesses come in, and they revitalize the faith of so many people. And so I do think the remnant, and I do think it's going to be in the second 3.5 years, despite our brother Scott and all of his ideas.
Well, he's not on right now, so you can say whatever you want to say.
Wonderful. but here's what I think. Yeah, I really I think that a lot, the remnant is going to be powerful at that point.
Okay.
And we won't be fighting the Antichrist directly, but we will be sort of the guys in the trenches. We'll be the medics and whatnot, and we'll be doing supernatural things. And I actually think that one reason that that the Antichrist will go to beheadings is because the remnant keeps bringing people back from the dead. The people that won't take the mark. And he's like, you got to take this mark or I'm going to kill you. And they're like, fine. And so then he kills them, maybe a bullet to the head. And then somebody from the remnant comes along, lays hands on them, and then they come back to life. So if you take off their head, well, they'll probably stay dead that way. So that's my speculation, is that there's a reason. I think there's a reason.
So we serve a purpose. You want to give people hope, obviously. And it can't be a bullet in the head or a beheading or anything like that. It has to be that you're a witness of, you're witnessing God working through the two witnesses, obviously, and also through the 144,000, which seem to be evangelists, and they're all of the tribes, so they're going to run around and do amazing things. So they will enjoin us to have spirit and truth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think that the 144,000 as well, I think they're going to kind of be the vanguard of God's side. I mean, look, you've got hordes of people that are going to take the mark of the beast, and they're going to become super soldiers, superhuman, whatever. God is only going to have,
and they're going to be human. They're going to be human. They're not going to. They will have charisma. They will have God's spirit upon them, but they will be human, and there will be a difference somehow between the humans fighting and those that are corrupted.
I think the 144,000, I think those are the first humans to get their new bodies. That's my take on it. That's my take. Because it says that they are the first fruits of the resurrection, right? So I think they sort of have 1 foot in the heavenly dimension and they have 1 foot on the earth, all right? And that they're going to be the first people to get their new bodies. And they can do angelic type things, right? So they're the counterpoint to Satan's people that take the mark of the beast.
So they're humans with that new body. That's what you're arguing.
Yes.
Human DNA, human whatever, eating, drinking, things like that, but with a new body, basically. So I don't know how the food works, but that's fine. I mean, it's logical. Okay. So we'll be working alongside them. Will they help protect us at times?
Well, it's really hard to say exactly what they're going to do. I mean, there's a few clues in scripture, but what their exact marching orders, I don't know entirely, so, but it would not surprise me if they were the counterpoint to the people that take the mark of the beast, who will also be superhuman and who will be, out hunting for, all these different people. So I guess my hunch is that they're going to kind of help people, help believers, the remnant, get to safe places. And they're going to help people that don't want to take the mark, and the people that have been slated for life in this life. I don't mean eternal life, but I just mean they're not going to be beheaded, that they're going to help those people get to a safe haven. It does say that, come my people, enter into your chambers until the indignation is past. So it could be that they're helping people get to these safe places before the return of Christ. And then, but again, I'm speculating. I don't know. So I don't know exactly.
Yeah, it is interesting how much is written about certain things and how little is written about, say, the 144,000.
Yeah.
My friend Daniel Sanders says they're going to be the greatest evangelists ever of spirit and truth. So it's basically Acts 2 and Joel chapter 2. They'll have that greater gift of God's Spirit upon them as first fruits, which means there will be more brought in the harvest. I've heard David Stern, argue that it will be 144,000 is 2% of the overall harvest, because it's first fruits, and that's 2% basically. And that's not in the Bible, that's rabbinic, but anyway, 2%. And then if you do the math, it's going to be 7.2 million people that are part of that harvest. And then 1/3 only survives. So it looks like 21.6 million overall that are kind of weeded down to 7.2 million. So
I would take those numbers with a big grain of salt.
Yeah, I know that's Stern.
But in any event, I mean, so, look, we have amazing things coming. Again, I'm excited about AI. I think it's going to be really wonderful in so many respects, but then I'm kind of scared about it because I do think we're building Skynet, so how it all plays out, well, I don't know. I mean, you guys can check out my books and see what I
think
see,
you should remind them one more time. Corrupting the Image 1, 2, 3, 4. What are the differences between the books that they'll see in our conversation tonight?
Well, also Regenesis Code, and at the end of the show, that trailer is going to play for what we're trying to do, but which is the fiction version. But basically, I think that the mark of the beast is a hybridization between Satan's seed and humanity, right? Sure. And so that's what I think is ultimately the mark of the beast. And so that it's just not just a piece of technology that's foisted upon you, or you're they slip it into your food or something like that. I think you have to make a conscious decision that you want to get this DNA upgrade because you are afraid of Jesus coming back and you want to fight against him. So I think you have to make a very conscious decision, and which I think is good news. Okay. So I explore that in book 2. I go into a lot of the ancient Sumerian and Akkadian nomenclature and symbols and logograms. All the stuff that we find in the book of Revelation was actually way back when in ancient Mesopotamia. So that's what's amazing about that. And then, and number 3, I focus on the 2 witnesses, and I look at the scenario of Armageddon and really try to put it all sort of boots on the ground, how this is going to work. And then if you want, the whole story, just, tell me a story. Well, that's Regenesis Code, of where I'm putting it in story format. So, so that's where we are, So again, I don't want to be a Luddite. I don't think technology is bad. I think it's awesome, but it can be used for bad, right? And so I think that's just important when we are going forward and thinking about these different things. Don't be afraid of technology. Be afraid of the people that are maybe behind the technology. But then again, don't be afraid of anything, because our God is awesome. He's powerful, and he's bigger and better than any of this stuff. And our AI is going to just be nothing when Jesus comes back. I mean, it's going to be less than nothing. That's how insignificant it is compared to the King of Kings. Compared to him, it's nothing. So good stuff, man. This was fun,
Okay.
Joel.
Good. I'm so all right, Doug, we did well.
Yep. All right. Well, God bless you, everyone. So glad you could join us, and check out the book. I think you will really enjoy it. And so until next time, God bless.